So I'm very excited for our first author, Rosemarie Aquilina. We had the pleasure of hosting her here at the Detroit Writing Room last summer for a book talk. So now that it is virtual, I'm excited to have you back again to talk about All Rise, your latest crime novel. And Rose, welcome. The Zoom screen is all yours.
All right. Well, thank you for inviting me again. It's always a pleasure to be with the Detroit Writing Room. You do such wonderful work and have such a great following. I've just been impressed with what you're doing, Stephanie. So at some point you need to have a Zoom where we all ask you questions. But anyway, as to All Rise, it's my third novel that's out. It's the first in a cozy mystery series. And first of all, my writing comes from my background and the things that happened to me. So there's a t-shirt that a friend gave to me that says, "Be careful, you might end up in my novel." And that really is so true for me. So my job is being a judge, and I'm a mom and a law professor, and all sorts of things that I do influence my writing. So for All Rise, and it was interesting because as I approached publishers with the premise of the theory that judges get bullied, they said, well, that doesn't happen in real life. Well, I'm here to tell you I'm a real life female judge who's been bullied. So I have to follow the law. So what I did was one day got really pissed off at the chief judge and said, I'll get you back in my head. And of course, murder is illegal and I'm not going behind bars. I don't look good in stripes or orange. So I started writing this novel, and it's about a judge who gets bullied, and she jumps off the bench after she's had too much, and she says, I'd rather be a hairdresser. And that's what she does. And her staff, who's her friends and a little bit wacky, and a few good clients come and sort of hire themselves. And of course, it's a lot of fun. And then, of course, she opens the salon and everybody's there, the media, wondering why, as a judge, why have you gone to be a hairstylist and all of that? And sure enough, the police show up, the detectives show up, and she gets arrested for the murder of the chief judge. So what can't be solved but everything in a hair salon, right, girls? Everything can be solved. We relax, we talk, we chat, and we get to the truth, the heart of the matter, right? So this book is really about good girl friendship, the men in our lives and how they influence us and want to take away our voice, and those who work with us and support us, and how collectively they solve the murder of the chief judge and all of the things that can happen in a courthouse that people don't talk about. And if you look, as I do, as I deal with it every single day, at what happens in the courthouse, all of you will be touched by a judge at some point, and hopefully you'll have good outcomes. But I have been witness to some outcomes that I've thought, that shouldn't happen, that's not within the law. And there's a lot of things that judges have access to that you all don't. And sometimes the outcomes are not what they should be. So this book really explores some of the things that can happen, why they can happen, how people can come together to solve a murder. And the three men in the book, she has a boyfriend, Sebastian, who's Australian, wonderful accent, great human, he's a lawyer. He helps her solve this. Dex, the ex, who has a lot of money, who puts up $1 million bond, but still is in love with her. And she keeps reminding him, D-I-V-O-R-C-E, we're divorced. You know, you put up 1 million reasons for me to say thank you, but that's all I want. And of course, a high school sweetheart, Hunter, who's now a private investigator, who her husband hires. So she has all of these sort of hormones racing with, you know, who knows you best but the three men you've slept with in your life, right? And so she always has these conflicts, and these men are sort of, if you look at them, you'll pick which one you like the best. And for me, I want to find that man that has the qualities of all three. So it's a lot of fun that way as well. Not a whole lot of, I know there's a lot of people who don't like the explicit sex and all of that. There's not a lot of, there's romance, there's not X-rated sex, but you'll get the idea of what's going on. And there's a lot of fun. The book opens up with some cases that I've actually had. I changed the names and the circumstances a little bit, but they're actual situations that have been before me as a judge. And this judge, Nicoletta, wears cowboy boots, a lot of hairspray, and drinks too much coffee. And of course, that's me. Not in every way. She does some things that maybe I wouldn't do, but she's a lot of fun. And this is a total romp. This is a book that even me as the author, I want to visit this town. I want to visit these characters time and time again. I'm working on the second in the series. I have Triple Cross Killer, which I published last year. I'm working on the second in that series. It's hard with all of my jobs to keep up with, as some authors who write full time can put out a book or two a year. I'm working on it. So for those of you who've asked, yes, book 2 and each are coming out. I hope you love the characters as much as I do. And for those of you who have book clubs, I am attending book clubs now with COVID virtually, and we're having just a blast. So I've always offered that if you're within a driving radius, I'll show up. But now Zoom like this, we can actually Zoom all over the world. So if anyone's interested, let me know or let Stephanie know, and be happy to make that happen. I don't know if there's any questions out there. I could talk about these characters forever. Stephanie, do you have any questions?
Yeah, if anyone has a question, please feel free to put your name in the chat box and we'll call on you. We can open it up to questions early if you've got a question now. But Rose, tell us about, I saw you posted the Hello Sunshine, your memoir. Tell us what that's about too.
So a lot of people have been asking me, how do you know what to do in court? How is it you've had this interaction with people and you always ask, what would you like me to know? And how did you come to learn that that's the question to ask? And there was so much outpouring. I actually met with Reese Witherspoon. She partners with Hello Sunshine, and I'm also represented by Creative Artists Agency for speaking and motivational speaking and all of that. And they said, look, we really need you to tell your story now. And I said, aren't I a little, like 20 years early for that? Aren't I a little young? I know I'm old, but I just don't feel ready. And they said, no, we want to know now. So I sat down, and it's really about how as a child I didn't have a voice and how that shaped me. And I think as women, and of course I was born in 1958, so the 50s, the 60s, women were expected to wear an apron and do a lot of things that we were really second-class citizens. And yet I was told by my grandparents, you can be anything. And so I go through some of the challenges, a lot of the challenges, not all, but a lot of the challenges I've had as a woman and how that shaped me to know to listen to people and to really shy away from the why question. I really believe that the why question shames and blames. And if you think about it in your own life, when you came home and your mother said, why isn't your homework done? Why are you wearing that? Why didn't you eat all your dinner? Whatever that why question is, you shut down, and that shames and blames. And I've always asked in my law practice, when I worked in the legislature, in my whole career, I've always asked, what would you like me to know and how can I help? And astonishingly enough, I always get information from people, whether it's my own kids or someone else's child or someone in front of me, a client, whatever it is. I get more information than the people who know them best. And I've always been asked, how were you able to find that information out? And so this book really talks about the journey that I've gone through to really not just rule with the law, but rule with my heart and common sense, and get information from people and value them and give them time to tell their story. So it was really an honor that Reese wanted me to do that. It's out on Audible. It's the early releases now, but it will actually be downloadable, I believe, December 10th. And the book will follow. Reese, with Hello Sunshine, her company, she wanted to try this, and I'm one of the first. There's 3 books she did initially, and I'm one of those. And her premise was, let's do Audible first and then the book. And as you know, as authors out there know, usually it's the book and then the Audible version. And they're doing it reverse, so I'm interested to see what will happen, how the response will be. And so far it's been pretty great, although there are people asking for the book, because we all like to hold those books in our hand, our friend, right? Have them on the shelf, revisit them. But this is the day and age of technology. So Audible, and I probably have 400 books I've listened to over the years on Audible. So I love Audible. If you haven't tried it, try it. I drive with it, I cook with it, I fold laundry with it. And I always feel like I have my friends in the room while I'm doing chores I don't want to do. And so I love Audible. I'm honored that they asked me. And I have to say, for those of you who want to meet Reese, she's like your best girlfriend. She is talking with her, is talking with your sister, your mother, your best friend, and having coffee. She's very real, down to earth. So it's really been a privilege to work with her and Hello Sunshine.
Awesome. I'm so jealous. We have a question from Nan. Nan, feel free to ask your question.
Okay, well, I was fascinated to hear your story and to hear about your book. I'm wondering if you ever have any pushback from other people in your profession about revealing things.
You know, in every profession, I think there's pushback because people wonder, how can you do this when they can't do it? Or why are you doing this? Are you doing this because of the fame? Or, you know, there's jealousy, there's all sorts of problems. And my philosophy really has been, even before technology, is delete is a good button. Those are naysayers. I have never listened to them. In fact, my gut says, I'll show you. And that's where really Just Watch Me comes, because I've been told my whole career as a woman, I could not do things. I could not be a mother and go to law school. I could not be a mother and go join the military. I could not be a writer. My father told me, when I said I'm going to go to college to be a writer, my father is a doctor, my brothers are doctors. I'm the oldest child. And of course, a disappointment, because you don't want me. No human wants me to be a doctor, not even a vet, okay? It's just not me, right? And so my father said, well, then how are you going to support yourself with English? Because for him, it was like me saying, I want to go to Hollywood, right? And so I looked at him in the eyes, well, up, because he's about 6'2". And I said, fine, I'll be a lawyer. And why did I do that? Because my gut said, doctors hate lawyers. And so it was my way of using my voice and saying, and I'll show you. I'm going to show you. And so it took me a while, because law school, you really lose your voice. They only want to know the facts. The first dozen exams I had, every single professor who didn't know me, because they're blind, when they grade papers, there's no name, there's just a number. They said, just the facts. This is not an English class. So I had to retrain myself. And so then when I started working, I retrained myself to get back to the creative writing and really shut the door, and on my lunch hours wrote. And I really find that writing is the best therapy there is, because everybody needs self-care. If you do not do self-care, you self-implode. And so for me, writing, I get to visit whatever world I want. I get to kill off whoever was mean to me. And I can do it legally and enjoyably.
Wonderful question.
Thank you.
We have time for maybe one more. We've got a minute left if anyone has a question. Okay, I will end with Rose, what are you cooking this holiday season?
Oh, geez. You know what? I make it, I'm doing the traditional, you know, I've done the turkey and now I'll do prime rib, and I always do the traditional sort of things. Actually, many of my holiday recipes are in Scene Magazine. But I always try new recipes. So I am looking for the tried and true recipe someone else has done that maybe I can put my own twist on. This Thanksgiving, I actually made pineapple bars that turned out fabulous, and it was my new recipe for Thanksgiving. So maybe I'll have to post it for all of you. But cooking is, again, part of that self-care. And of course, when you cook and listen to Audible, what is better than that? So I hope you'll all join me, and, you know, buy my books, don't buy my books. If you want me to join a book club, contact me. I'm just happy doing what I'm doing, and keep reading. That's all I have to say. Keep reading. Thank you. And thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Rose. Rose will be back for our book club in 2021. She'll be speaking in March. So if you want to come back for that, that'll be a full hour. So hope to have you all back for that. But thank you so much for joining us this morning or afternoon. I keep saying morning.